Let's begin around the fire, where the light dances on a circle of faces, where the heat toddies the spirits and all close-gathered bodies, where since epochs and eras long before Native Americans honored the four winds under new and full moons, before the Zoroastrians lit the great fire at Yazda that glows on millennia later, before the Druids, Bedouins, even before Apollo and Vulcan, Ogun, Fuji, Agni, and Granus, Pele, and Mishquatl. When early man made fires in the green dark hearts of forests, in the open mouths of sheltering caves, where across all human time voices, songs, music, drum beats and heartbeats rose with the sparks, cinders, and smoke into the sky, toward the sun by day, toward the distant, listening stars by night, of lilting kinds, offering, celebrating, and other anciently sacred, wordful and wordless kinds, where some of our own ancestors once surely stood or sat, meditated, chanted, or danced with wild abandon, naked or painted or hatted and coated, till the last of the embers died out, gave way to the great silence and stillness of the earth around them, of the vast and mysterious world folded and unfolding around them, where we can gather, go further in, invite and embrace our own kindling, crackling, blazing from the center of our beings. Let forth our own fire to reach and touch, light, and warm every circle of our lives, our living, all our making, all our loving. Welcome to the latest floating poetry broadcast, and thank you for leaning in to show 186, coming to you live from the harmonically converging coast of Rhode Island. This is your poet and guiding spirit in the poetosphere, Colin Goedecke, a voice here and elsewhere for living our days more fully, more alively, more poetically. Last week's broadcast was Feast on Your Life, a poetic toast to feasting of all kinds, from feasting on good food and company around tables and holidays, to feasting on friendship and love, to feasting on nature, beauty, the body, our memorable moments, and on abundance of any and all kind, literal to figurative, arriving in our lives, in our days, in our day-to-day, with consciousness, thankfulness, and ideally ever deeper gratefulness. Well, this week, how life comes together, the ways it comes together inside us, or for us in our lives, or for others, from meaningful callings to transporting or rewarding encounters to beautiful relationships and more. Times where life generously and remarkably or subtly and movingly meets you, takes your hand or your heart, mind, or spirit, maybe in nature or by nature. Places where you experience or witness a harmonic convergence of elements, a confluence of energies, maybe a stroke of good fortune, serendipity, or synchronicity. Why this theme? Because during this wild passage in our world, where so much, too much, in my book, seems to be coming apart at the seams in extremely challenging and bewildering ways, I felt we ought to focus on all the good things that have come and are coming together well. For individuals, for groups of people, for communities, especially awakenings and arisings of valiant spirit of all kinds. So, I've made for us, a broadcast to take us into a synchronous orbit together around this theme. May it touch inviting chords as we go, and lead to good further reflections and conversations beyond our musings here. Now, let me take you to a point of convergence. On Sea Point Beach, near Jerish Island, Kittery, Maine, June 2017. Point of convergence. Of pine green land. Of ash gray sand studded with bleached oyster shells, wave-washed stones. Of clear cold sea. Of a slow-moving scrim of salt-white mist, soft over the surfaces, echoing a low tide of blue-bordered clouds, of an unveiled body and spirit, of a free-floating man, poet, coming together on a solitary, salutary Maine coast morning. Christine Stewart Nunez, Convergence. Through the bedroom window, a February sunrise, fog suspended between pines. Intricate crystals, hoarfrost lace on a cherry tree. My son calls out, awake. We sway, blanket-wrapped, his head nuzzling my neck. Hoarfrost, tree, I point, shaping each word. Favorable conditions, a toddler's brain, hard data mining, a systems approach. Hoar, he hears. His hand reaches to the wallpaper lion. Phenomena converge. Warmth, humidity, temperature's sudden plunge, a child's brain, objects, sound. Eyes widening, he opens his mouth and roars. Thank you, Christine Stewart Nunez. New poet and poem for me. Maybe you. Louis MacNeice, Meeting Point. Time was away and somewhere else. There were 2 glasses and 2 chairs and 2 people with the one pulse. Somebody stopped the moving stairs. Time was away and somewhere else. And they were neither up nor down. The stream's music did not stop flowing through heather, limpid brown, although they sat in a coffee shop, and they were neither up nor down. The bell was silent in the air, holding its inverted poise. Between the clang and clang, a flower, a brazen calyx of no noise. The bell was silent in the air. The camels crossed the miles of sand that stretched around the cups and plates. The desert was their own. They planned to portion out the stars and dates. The camels crossed the miles of sand. Time was away and somewhere else. The waiter did not come. The clock forgot them, and the radio waltz came out like water from a rock. Time was away and somewhere else. Her fingers flicked away the ash that bloomed again in tropic trees, not caring if the markets crash, when they had forests such as these. Her fingers flicked away the ash. God, or whatever means the good, be praised that time can stop like this, that what the heart has understood can verify in the body's peace. God, or whatever means the good. Time was away, and she was here, and life no longer what it was. The bell was silent in the air, and all the room one glow, because time was away, and she was here. Thank you, Louis MacNeice, for that. Lovely. I'd not read that before. On Jekyll Island, Georgia, May 2019, for April and Brad, Hicks and Hammer, on their marriage. I read this to them on that very day they were married. Lovers. Romeo and Juliet crossed stars. Abelard and Heloise faced swords. Lancelot prized Guinevere more than words, more than the fabled knights and whole kingdom of Camelot combined. Catherine and Heathcliff, we know, rose to wuthering, dizzying heights of desire. Rhett Butler and Scarlett O'Hara were swept away in a wild wind of romance. Damn the battles raging outside and within. And you, arching and shining into marriage, lovers, passionately chosen partners, enter now with bliss and great promise into a deeply shared, doubly shaped future, into your own heartful, remarkable, and real life adventure. Spring 2005, April, New York City. Gnocchi for 4 hands. Like a nocturne or etude, the fine-boned wrists and fingers of my wife's hands and her mother's hands finesse with familiar ease and grace the ivory dough to make the Easter gnocchi. 143 years of melodies flowing together, rolling out and flowering together this lovely composition in our sun-bulbed kitchen, the afternoon before another Buona Pasqua. Go right back to that moment whenever I read that. From Uncle Paul's thoughts, it will all come together and work out for your good. Look, we all face disappointments in life and situations that we don't understand. It is in those times that we need to understand that all things work together for our good. The key word is together. You see, you cannot isolate one part of your life. Your life is not over because you had a bad break. Don't get stuck in the past. You need to start moving forward, as you will see it all come together and work out for your good. You've not seen your best days. You have not reached your full potential. Everything that you have gone through will one day make sense when it all comes together. See, you have to stop worrying about who hurt you, what you lost, how unfair it was, and who walked out of your life. You must understand something right now. It's going to all come together. It's just a matter of time. You must keep pressing forward, knowing it's just a matter of time before it comes together. It's just a thought. Paul Stephen Smith, also known as Uncle Paul. Thank you. Yeah, I keep the faith about that. I trust that all will be well, regardless of whatever else may be happening, like the times we're in. Some parts of the times, not all of it, obviously. I've been reading Mark Nepo's beautiful book, Things That Join the Sea and Sky, Field Notes on Living. And I came across this one piece the other night that I thought, oh, this would be perfect for us here for this show. We're intimate now. It's early March, the snow almost gone. The old rugged oak in our yard is leafless. It happens that the sun is rising behind its trunk. It slips between its upper fork, the light splitting in every direction. In this moment, the old tree seems to be crucified on the dawn of another spring. The light spilling through the tree blinds me as it illumines the world. As I start to see again, I think of Leonardo's drawing of man, arms and legs spread with our small heart spinning in the center, waiting for life to reach it. Maybe this is how it works. Sooner or later we must spread ourselves to life, naked, mouths open, our hearts spinning in the center, waiting for light. The sun has risen to warm the rest of the world, and the tree has settled back into being a leafless tree. The early light has come and gone off my face, and I've settled back into ordinary perception. But we have been lighted. The oak will never be the same. We're intimate now. And there, a fox trots slowly behind the tree. He stops and looks up at me as if he knows, then disappears. Thank you, Mark Nepo. The American Buddhist monk, Pema Chodron. Things falling apart is a kind of testing and also a kind of healing. We think that the point is to pass the test or to overcome the problem. But the truth is that things don't really get solved. They come together and they fall apart. Then they come together again and fall apart again. It's just like that. The healing comes from letting there be room for all of this to happen. Room for grief, for relief, for misery, for joy. Wonderful. Thank Pema Chodron, via the marginalian from the book Lost and Found by Catherine Schulz, Schulz. It's part personal memoir, part existential inquiry into the two great universals of human life. After hearing herself say, "I lost my father last week," her father of whom she paints a boundlessly affectionate and admiring portrait as, quote, part Socrates, part Tevye, a gregarious and godlike figure with a, quote, booming voice, a heavy accent, a formidable mind, a rabbinical beard, a Santa Claus belly, and the gestural range of the Vitruvian man, Schultz reflects. One of the many ways that loss instructs us is by correcting our sense of scale, showing us the world as it really is, so enormous, complex, and mysterious that there is nothing too large to be lost, and conversely, no place too small for something to get lost there. Like awe and grief, to which it is closely related, loss has the power to instantly resize us against our surroundings. We are never smaller, and the world never larger, than when something important goes missing. Yes. Well, I have some questions for you, for us all, about how life comes together. How has it come together in desired ways for you? Or how is it coming together well for you as we speak? How did or does it feel? How did it change or is changing your life or way of seeing or feeling or understanding yourself or the world? Where have you witnessed life coming together beautifully for someone else? What about that experience for you? How did it affect you? And did you play some part in the happening? What about seeing nature come together with itself or with you, and you with it? Where parts of yourself or humanity or the natural world, what parts are you greatly aligned with? Maybe all of them. Where have you had harmonic convergences with others? People who came into your life, your world, friends to partners, in some greatly welcome and meaningful way for you both. How might our world achieve a harmonic convergence, a place of peace and harmony with each other, across and above our countries, our cultures, beliefs, and ideologies? Is it time for people everywhere to come together from the heart? After too many years, in some cases, generations of heartache and heartbreak in society. How and where are you being, or might you be, a model or inspirer of it in your own way, in your own community or circle? Things I thought we ought to muse on. I did reach out to listeners, by the way, beforehand, some days ago, for any memorable experiences they might like to share with me and us. I asked what about it was so beautiful or meaningful or affirming. And here's one of them I chose for us. This is from Dick in Fort Worth, Texas, a very spry man in his 80s. After exploring the Maine coast from York to Stonington in May of 1999, my now late wife and I purchased a coastal property in the town of Bristol in the village of New Harbor. The 1-acre lot with 200 feet of ocean frontage included a gerrymandered 3-bedroom house with a shower in the kitchen. We asked an experienced and recommended gentleman to take down the whole structure and keep whatever he wanted. We never stopped enjoying our quote, then newly built house and barn/studio, except during the pandemic when I couldn't travel there. 23 years later has been a place of great inspiration, shared with family and friends, and provided an annual renewal of the soul. How about that? It's amazing how the salt air, ocean waves, and tranquility totally continues to refresh him. Thank you, Dick, for that. And if you have something you'd like to share around this, it's still time to send me a note, a few paragraphs. I'd love to hear it. Colin@thepoetosphere.com. Milan Kundera on the power of coincidences and the musicality of how chance composes our lives. This is from his classic book, The Unbearable Lightness of Being. There was also a film made of that. You might have seen that or read the book. Well, I had a little bit to say here I thought was worth sharing. Our day-to-day life is bombarded with fortuities, or to be more precise, with the accidental meetings of people and events we call coincidences. Coincidence, quote, means that two events unexpectedly happen at the same time. They meet. Tomas appears in the hotel restaurant at the same time the radio is playing Beethoven. We do not even notice the great majority of such coincidences. If the seat Tomas occupied had been occupied instead by the local butcher, Teresa never would have noticed the radio was playing Beethoven. But her nascent love inflamed her sense of beauty, and she would never forget that music. Whenever she heard it, she would be touched. Everything going on around her at that moment would be haloed by the music and take on its beauty. Human lives are composed like music. Guided by his sense of beauty, an individual transforms a fortuitous occurrence into a motif, which then assumes a permanent place in the composition of the individual's life. Without realizing it, the individual composes his life according to the laws of beauty, even in times of great distress. Thank you, Kundera. The unbearable lightness of being. When you and nature come wonderfully, naturally together. In New York City in August of 2015, I was moved to compose a poem about a painting I was looking at by a friend of mine, a very good painter, mostly landscapes. Adam Van Doren's painting, Lake District in England, 2013. On a deep green rise. You hike with long legs up to a deep green rise, shirt unbuttoned to the sun, sleeves rolled, and stop to drink in the serene blue lake, bathe in the lather of the country clouds, long, soft, gentle clouds, their undersides still warm from the day. You lie down, face, chest, palms to the sky. Let all the elements converge. That's how that painting affected me. There was nobody in the painting, but a landscape, but I came into the painting. Gary Snyder, Meeting the Mountains. He crawls to the edge of the foaming creek. He backs up the slab ledge. He puts a finger in the water. He turns to a trapped pool, puts both hands in the water, puts one foot in the pool, drops pebbles in the pool. He slaps the water surface with both hands. He cries out, rises up, and stands facing toward the torrent and the mountain, raises up both hands, and shouts 3 times. Meeting the Mountains. Thank you, Gary Snyder. That was at Sawmill Lake. Let's go look on the map, find out where that was. Morristown, New Jersey, June 2018. One of mine. Precious earthly fluids. As precious as the ones residing inside your body, that you may exchange with another, that flow too through the body, the living, loving body of the earth. One's here to share with you essence to essence, but only with awareness of, great reverence for their equal seminal preciousness. So each joining and exchanging you make with her, that she makes with you, and these nectars, these rare earth elixirs, becomes an act of intimacy, an act of union, an act of beauty. The diverse places life's delightfulness or loveliness or memorableness happens. This was here in the fishing village of Galiscari, on the island of Kea in the Cyclades in Greece, August 2012. The Ouzo hour. The hour when limbs loosen, eyes soften, anise, ice, and water alchemize. Sun dissolves into saffron, chartreuse. The upper bodies of bathers become half gold, the lower half blue. Moon phosphoresces, spirit floats, conversation flirts, night coalesces. The Ouzo hour. Here at the Ristorante La Rosetta in Rome, in Italy, September 1997. Mangiare il mare. Eating the sea. Suddenly I'm eating the sea from a simple dish of linguine e scampi. I'm drinking the earth from a pale straw glass of Greco di Tuffo. The sea and the earth meeting at a table in this city where it's clear such things are eternal. Witnessing nature coming together with itself, here with horses. Robert Wrigley after a rainstorm. Because I have come to the fence at night, the horses arrive also from their ancient stable. They let me stroke their long faces, and I note in the light of the now merging moon how they, a morgen and a quarter, have been by shake-guttered raindrops spotted around their rumps and thus made Appaloosas, the ancestral horses of this place. Maybe because it is night they are nervous, or maybe because they too sense what they have become. They seem to be waiting for me to say something, to whatever ancient spirits might still abide here, that they might awaken from this strange dream in which there are fences and stables and a man who doesn't know a single word they understand. Thank you, Robert Wrigley. And how about when couples, families, friends, lovers, or others come gladly, come harmoniously together? This is Wendell Berry, the great farmer poet, Wendell Berry. They sit together on the porch. They sit together on the porch, the dark almost fallen, the house behind them dark. Their supper done with, they have washed and dried the dishes, only 2 plates now, 2 glasses, 2 knives, 2 forks, 2 spoons, small work for 2. She sits with her hands folded in her lap, at rest. He smokes his pipe. They do not speak, and when they speak, at last, it is to say what each one knows the other knows. They have one mind between them, now, that finally, for all its knowing, will not exactly know which one goes first through the dark doorway, bidding good night, and which sits on a while alone. Beautiful. Wendell Berry, thank you. That's from his collection, A Timbered Choir. Yes. New York City, July 2009. I wrote this for 2 newlyweds, Janie and John Erickson, on that occasion. Carving out a lifetime. With bone and flesh, hand and heartiness, you carve out a lifetime. Of summer steaks salted with sea air, and fireflies and turkeys with wings, giving thanks, Easter lambs saying rosemaries, Christmas roast and rosiness, crusty loaves, an air of comforting lightness. You feed and are fed and nourished, wield a blade with heed and without bleeding, as you preside and guide with simple tools and grace at the table of your life. Kara Jackson, K-A-R-A. The world is about to end, and my grandparents are in love. Still, living like they orbit one another, my grandfather, the planet, and Grandma, his moon, assigned by some gravitational pull. They have loved long enough for a working man to retire. Grandma says she's not tired. She wears her husband like a coat that survives every season. talks about him the way my parents talk about vinyl, the subject salvaged by the tent of their tongues. Grandma returns to her love like a hymn, marks it with a color. When the world ends, will it suck the earth of all its love? Will I go taking somebody's hand, my skin becoming their skin? The digital age is taking away our winters, and I'm afraid the sun is my soulmate. That waste waits for a wet kiss. Carbon calls me pretty, and I think death is a good first date. I hope when the world ends, it leaves them be, spares Grandpa and his game, Grandma spinning corn into weight, the two of them reeling into Western theme songs, the TV louder than whatever's coming. Thank you, Cara Jackson. A new one for me. We try to introduce new poems and poets. Okay. Morristown, New Jersey, December of 2022, this past December, on the converging of all my siblings from across the country. It was a very rare event. It had not happened, not never, but quite a, I think, decades. And it was quite marvelous. But I wrote this for everyone as we gathered on this gathering, a blessing. A blessing on this gathering of sisters, brothers, and significant others, gathering to celebrate one and all. A blessing on this chance to animate with pure joy together, to appreciate being in each other's lives and hearts, and plant seeds of family and friendship that will germinate and flower far beyond our light-filled time these 3 December days. Yes, and so we've all decided it was so splendid to be together and filling in so many ways. We're going to regather again in the spring down in Asheville, North Carolina. Robert Browning, you may know this is a very well-known poem by him, back in time, Meeting at Night. The gray sea and the long black land, and the yellow half-moon large and low, and the startled little waves that leap in fiery ringlets from their sleep as I gain the cove with pushing prow and quench its speed in the slushy sand. Then a mile of warm, sea-scented beach, 3 fields to cross till a farm appears, a tap at the pane, the quick sharp scratch and blue spurt of a lighted match, and a voice less loud through its joys and fears than the 2 hearts beating each to each. Thank you, Robert Browning. From my experiential exhibition of theater on paper, Behind the Curtain, this was from the debut in the spring of 2018, The Lovers. Across deserts and oceans, behind stages and curtains, they find their way to each other, bring the gifts of their loving bodies together, lips and longing spirits together. Let the winds of their shared desire undress and caress them, carry them off into bliss, into ecstasies. Elizabeth Spires, The Bodies. Here, in the half-dark of the sauna, the bodies of the women glisten, naked, disproportionate, lush, hung and burdened with flesh, they open slowly, like orchids blooming out of season. Sweat beads my forehead. Heat rings my breasts like circlets. And I am my body, all shimmering flesh. Secrets are whispered here. Stories told. The bodies, alabaster, abalone, relax, give up their pose to ask, how shall we be joined? How shall we know each other? By doors, by chains, and linkages through which we shall be entered, touched, possessed. I see them, row upon row, the rank and file of generations moving without pause. The bodies of the young girls, the willows, complete unto themselves, androgynous. The great bodies of the mothers, circled by their little moons, adoring. The mothers of the mothers, the old wise ones, ponderous and slow. And in another room, not far from this one, the restless bodies of men, searching without knowing what it is they search for. Body of the world, body of flesh. Leaving this room, I leave the orbit of women. I dress and walk into the snowy night, into the great body of the world, cold, still, and expectant. Bodying forth, I am taken by the dark. What am I? Asked, shall I say, struck by a spark, I quickened and was born to flashing days and nights, a small significance of one. I did not wish to change, but changed, feeling desire and fear and love, failing many times. My meaning made, I died, the windows darkening for the last time. We move, we love, we cry out. We hold or cannot hold to what we are and finally wake to find ourselves changed beyond all imagining. Was it enough to have lived? In that moment of still approach, will it be given to us to know? Thank you, Elizabeth Spires. The bodies from her collection, Worldling. Wonderful. That was quite wonderful. And what are the interesting ways people meet, intersect, and what transpires? Well, this was inspired by, with added imagination of mine, by an ever-musing friend and his story in New York City. Meeting of the Beards and the Birds. When the two men met by chance at a cafe, likely why they met, they discovered birds were nesting in each other's beards. A yellow canary in one, a hidden finch in the other, and both of them began singing. You never know what may happen. This was for the daughter of Henry, soul brother from New Zealand of mine, for his daughter Charlotte on her second birthday. When we meet, they'll be smiling. Oh, yes. Each to the other. Words unimportant, but if we have them, all the better. Your early ones, my later ones. Lovely ones. Like our crinkled lips, eyes, faces, spirits, also meeting. In a first moment, in the air of where we are, naturally, joyfully. For now, though, till then, the looking ahead, the feeling ahead, to the first moment we, little one, budding one, can begin to meet. And I certainly still look greatly forward to meeting her in person, coming together. Up close, it will be. I was going to read a poem, but I'm going to save it for another time because I want to keep us in good time. But this is a poem that I'm going to point you to. It's at poetryfoundation.org. It's by Irving Feldman. It's called Six Sailors. And it's, I would say for me, and the choice of it tonight was because I was thinking about how people unite around an effort, an event, or a mutually shared energy or esprit. So I'm going to put that aside. But speaking of sailing and sailors, I will share this one. This was an honoring poem of mine for each of the boats and crews of the 2017 America's Cup yacht races that were in Bermuda back then. I contributed to it culturally as a poet laureate of the Truce Foundation of the United States, where I still serve as such. This poem was for Francis Grupama and its team. Together, single hands to all hands, minds, hearts meeting, making history. How a team, land to sea, ship or shore, becomes one stream, one confluence of intention and action, one poetry in motion, one living, flowing expression. I spoke earlier of harmonic convergence, and I think of it as those harmonious meetings and new relationships that are full of fantastic, inviting interest and energy. But there was, of course, an event back in time, a large event, called the harmonic convergence. And I looked up some pieces about it. I'll read you this one. This one is from forchange.net. Although many people joined to make, and it was, I'm sorry, what was the harmonic convergence? That's the name of this. Although many people joined to make the harmonic convergence possible, it's generally associated with the work of Jose Argüelles. And he said this: there comes a point when things have to change. A vibration signal was sent out. Where the signal was coming from, whether it was coming from our genetic coding, whether it was coming from the Earth, whether it was coming from outer space, or whether it was coming from all of those, this signal went out and people responded to a signal. It's very much like when a species gets a signal to change the direction of its migration pattern. The signal was, quote, go back to the Earth. If you want peace on this planet, go back to the Earth. He also said this: the vibratory infrastructure holding the Earth together is in a condition of intense fever called resonant dissonance. Influences such as the arms race and insults to the environment could cause the breakup of the Earth into smaller bodies, not unlike the asteroid belt. This can be averted by harmonic convergence achieved in a synchronized collective of human beings, through which the possibility of a new heaven and a new Earth is fully present. Wonderful. I'm all for that, as you will hear further. But you probably know this about me already, if you've listened to me before or read anything. It called to mind a poem that I composed here in Rhode Island, in Shelter Harbor, nearby, in February of 22, in the midst of the pandemic. And this was written for our pandemicized times, a world of hurt. The world of hurt, the world of trouble, too immense to describe, yet too immense not to inscribe across the sky of every living memory. The one too many are in, have been in these years, not of their making, but of their suffering, having to suffer, to endure, some to exit, unable to bear more. The pain of losing a livelihood, relationships, one's resolve, belief in possibilities, being cared about. The loss or tossing away of equanimity, bodily integrity, sovereignty of self. A whole world of hurt, those unscathed, unseeing, or choosing to look away, one hopes will soon or later come to see, feel an ache for, compassion toward, as fellow humans. If they feel into their fuller humanness, our world, that may only heal in time, may only turn from a world of hurt to one of wellness, good for allness, if and when together we become a world of heart. Yes, a world of heart. I wish for that. I work toward that. I'm here to serve that outcome and the way there, as much as I can. Well, now coming into our last musings and sharings for this week, this time together. This is from Nick Cave, from his book, 2022 book, Faith, Hope, and Carnage. At 65 years old, he reflects, we're often led to believe that getting older is in itself somehow a betrayal of our idealistic younger self, but sometimes I think it might be the other way around. Maybe the younger self finds it difficult to inhabit its true potential because it has no idea what that potential is. It's a kind of unformed thing running scared most of the time, frantically trying to build its sense of self. This is me, here I am, in any way that it can. But then time and life come along and smash that sense of self into a million pieces. Then comes the reassembled self, the self you have to put back together. You no longer have to devote time to finding out what you are. You're just free to be whatever you want to be, unimpeded by the incessant needs of others. You somehow grow into the fullness of your humanity, form your own character, become a proper person. I don't know, someone who has become a part of things, not someone separated from or at odds with the world. Thank you, Nick Cave, for that. Appreciate that. Well, in the oasis of regenesis that I'm guiding, the Poetosphere, thepoetosphere.com, there are many vitalizing dimensions and dynamics and harmonies at play to experience, and One of them is this manifesto for our times, for our lives, for our world. And I invite people who can freely go. You don't have to be a member to go there and read it and find it and listen to it and share it, copy it, download it, share it out to the world. I encourage you and translate it into any language you want. It's free to do that. The Great Regenesis, a call to possibility. Amid the world's troubles, its darkness and inhumanities, amid the fears, heartaches, and tears in the fabric of the lives of families, friends, fellow citizens, amid our own growing tuggings and stirrings, awaits a great regenesis that begins inside us. When we drink from the deeper vessel of ourselves, freely and daily, that opens us to our possibilities of being, many we didn't even know or believe were possible, that rekindles the heart of our humanness, quenches our thirst for wholeness, returns us to our natural aliveness, native vibrance, shows us everything else living here on earth, our planet home, springs from the same source, is entirely alive, incredibly vibrant, invites us to embrace and embody more of the essential seeings, feelings, callings, and deepenings each day offers us. And as these experiences infuse our beings, ripple and ray out from us, begin to inspire, encourage, awaken others to their possibilities, then a great regenesis emerges, unfolds, for our seeking selves, longing spirits, for our undernourished humanity, overwhelmed society, becomes a ferment, becomes a movement that removes the darkness, dead weights and yokes upon our peace of mind, hearts, and spirits, restores our places of hope and joy, solace and rest, beauty and wonder, revives the wild life force we arrived at birth with, and recalls us to live and thrive together in the elemental. A great regenesis that starts simply, beautifully with us, where every moment, felt experience of opening, yours, mine, one person at a time, each in our own way, creates a remarkable, unstoppable momentum, creates a monumental tide of transformation, lifting everyone willing to a deeper place of being, of knowing, of remembering, giving rise to a healthy body, a spirited society, a mighty community of possibility, of possibilitarians. It begins here, inside us. Jane Hirschfield, meeting the light completely. Even the long-beloved was once an unrecognized stranger. Just so, the chipped lip of a blue-glazed cup, blown field of a yellow curtain, might also, flooding and falling, ruin your heart. A table painted with roses, an empty clothesline. Each time the found world surprises, that is its nature. And then what is said by all lovers, what fools we were not to have seen. Thank you, Jane Hirschfield. Kathy's song, April Moon. The moon tonight is closer to us than it will be for the rest of the year, grace willing, the year we will remember as the great pandemic, pulling us closer into its orbit, shining the light of its fullness into the room we turn to hold in our hands each other's face as if for the first time and the last. Pink moon, egg moon, moon of new grass. Thank you, Kathy's song. From the great modern philosopher Teilhard de Chardin and his book, The Heart of Matter. This I now understand. If we are ever to reach you, matter, we must, having first established contact with the totality of all that lives and moves here below, come little by little to feel that the individual shapes of all we have laid hold on are melting away in our hands until finally we are at grips with the single essence of all consistencies and all unions. Raise me up then, matter, to those heights, through struggle and separation and death. Raise me up until at long last it becomes possible for me to embrace the universe. Beautiful. Thank you, Teilhard de Chardin. Next to last, N. Scott Momaday, Native American, the delight song of Soy Tali. I am a feather on the bright sky. I am the blue horse that runs in the plain. I am the fish that rolls, shining in the water. I am the shadow that follows a child. I am the evening light, the luster of meadows. I am an eagle playing with the wind. I am a cluster of bright beads. I am the farthest star. I am the cold of dawn. I am the roaring of the rain. I am the glitter on the crust of the snow. I am the long track of the moon in a lake. I am a flame of 4 colors. I am a deer standing away in the dusk. I am a field of sumac in the palm blanche. I am an angle of geese in the winter sky. I am the hunger of a young wolf. I am the whole dream of these things. You see, I am alive. I am alive. I stand in good relation to the earth. I stand in good relation to the gods. I stand in good relation to all that is beautiful. I stand in good relation to the daughter of Senpent. You see, I am alive. I am alive. Thank you, and Scott Momaday. And last, for now, till we're together again here through these airwaves, this was a meditation on the autumnal equinox of 2019. Serenely centered. You're floating straight up above a field or an ocean, a forest or mountain. Your limbs are loose, your gaze is soft. A warm breeze plays on your skin. Centered over your head is a great sun. Below your soles, a great moon. The 3 of you floating together, balanced weightlessly, cradled gently in space, in the open sky. Your 3 bodies a trinity of light and lightness, serenely centered with the earth, the fertile earth, your home, your breathing and birthing place, being and becoming place, that turns itself now slowly, now surely again to flower at your feet. Well, thank you again, friends, for leaning in, thinking, and feeling in here, for coming together in a spirit of open inquiry and discovery. Thanks also when you share this or other show links with friends or point them this way. Keep the recommending coming. As always, I invite your comments from listening, especially any inspirations. Likewise, any contributions you might like to make to give thanks or lend more support for these free weekly programs I create to engage and illuminate you and others. Any theme you'd like to see a future broadcast on, email me, colin@thepoetosphere.com. And what about your experience of this show? How life comes together. I'd like to know how it came together for you tonight, today, whenever you're listening, and wherever you're listening, now or far across time and space. And for those who are making a donation or would like to, thank you very much. You can do so by Venmo to Fivefold, Fivefold, at pipeline.com, or by PayPal to the same email. Or you can simply mail a check to me to P.O. Box 1032, Westerly, Rhode Island, 02891, or donate through my site, thepoetorialist.com, and the Donate tab there. At times, yes, patrons can privately host or sponsor me as a working poet in residence in the U.S. or beyond to create a new flight of poetic art and dedicate it to them. Email me to explore. Meanwhile, You can hear all the broadcasts online, especially on YouTube on the Floating Poetry playlist, eventually everywhere else. You can also explore as a visitor or a subscriber by the month or more, the oasis of aliveness that I'm guiding, thepoetosphere.com, a source of truly enlivening, inspiring, and encouraging micro-experiences and conversations and contemplations and interactions, a community of kindred spirits, of possibilitarians. Meanwhile, I hope you'll lean in here soon again. Until then, dear listeners, may life come together for you in desired ways and daily serendipitous ways, or keep coming from finding and feeling your wholeness of being, aligning with kindred spirits, and harmonizing with nature, with the wondrous living world, to meeting and engaging with the best parts of humanity, yours and ours. As for our world, I am ever hopeful for a powerful coming together of consciousness, a great regenesis I am. Goodbye for now, and good spirits.